Hello, good morning, and many thanks indeed for joining us here on Morning Prime. My name is Dibala Nair. I trust that you had a lovely restorative weekend. It is the 17th of April, 2023. I'm glad you've chosen KT News as the channel of choice to inform you and keep you up to breast with the current affairs here in the country. We know right now what is happening regarding the ICC and the pronouncement from Azimio that they will, of course, take Gachagua and Inspector General of Police to ICC in regard to the demonstrations where we had 9 lives being lost. And a raft of issues are being raised also regarding the bipartisan talks. So they're not throwing back as far as the pertinent issues that is a 9-point agenda that were put on the table that they want them to be keenly teased out. We shall be joined this morning to look at this and other raft of issues regarding this and also the economy of the country, how we continue to be subjected to so much, of course, harsh times in regard to the cost of living, where everyone is raising special umbrage in regard to how it is being handled. But they say also this is a global affair, but how come also we have other countries who are managing their economies even in a better way or in the wisest of fashion? I'll be joined this morning by Senator of Tana River, this is Danson Mungatana. Also, we're joined by the Senator of Bomet, this is Hilary Sigay. We'll be joined by Beatrice Elachi, she is a Member of Parliament, Dagoretti North, and Dr. James Nikal, who is a Member of Parliament for Seme. But for now, let's see what is fresh off the press this morning, just to keep you abreast on the latest in the headlines. This is what is on the front page of the Standard today. Return of caning, teachers go rogue, it says. Return of caning, teachers go rogue. Whereas corporal punishment is banned in schools, cases of learners being beaten to a point of seeking medical attention are rising. Could the tutors be taking matters into their own hands at the peril of the learners? That is their burning question. And this is well fleshed out for you on page 11, 12, and 13 of the Standard today. Also, Azimio to report Gachagua to ICC, I just alluded to that, and this also is a story that you want to follow inside the Standard today. We can see an insert here, Azimio leader Raila Odinga addressing a rally at Kamukunji grounds in Nairobi yesterday. Also on the sidebar, Eliud Kipchoge hopes Boston will favor him. We wish him all the best. And 11 cult members face attempted suicide charge. You can read all about it. This is what is actually trending here in the country regarding the cults in Kilifi and Pastor Mackenzie. You can read his story here, where so far we have 4 who have died because of starvation in the name of fasting, that they were seeking to, of course, see Jesus. So the story is on page 5. Health and Science magazine, the Pullard magazine, comes in handy for you every Monday. And today is all about motorbikes, used vehicles driving up permissions. Motorbikes, used vehicles as well, are driving up emissions, and you can read all about it inside the Health and Science Pullard magazine. Let's look at the teaser on top here. We see what is there for us. MPs at heart of country's ballooning debt. MPs at heart of country's ballooning debt. That is the national pages of the Standard today. IMF is seeking openness on fuel subsidy. This is on page 20. Also, 56 die in Sudan's army fight. That is on page 22. Not even Jesus could rescue Arsenal. There are not even Jesus, maybe. That is, not even Jesus could rescue Arsenal. That is on page 32. I know Jesus, as I've alluded to. That is the story that you want to follow on page 32 of the Standard today. Let's see what we have on the front page of the Daily Nation. Healthcare costs shocking families. Insurer urging patients to go for cheaper generic medicines. That is what the flagger is reading here. And you can see the prices. That is the price changes of commonly prescribed drugs. And we have Lasatin H, that is hypertension and kidney failure patients who are using this. New price is 60 shillings a tablet. Old price was 10 shillings a tablet. That is a 500% change. We have tamoxifen. This is a breast cancer patients. We have 1,500 a packet, and old price was 450 a packet. This is 244.44% change there, the increase. We have Gaviscon, patients with heartburn and indigestion. We have 550 a bottle, which is a new price. The old price was 317 a bottle. That is 73.50%. We have tacrolimus, kidney transplant patient. We had 62 shillings a tablet. That was this is the new price, and the old price was 28 shillings a tablet, 124.42%. That is the increase there. Insulin, diabetes patients, 800 shillings was the price. Now it's 500 shillings. This is 60% at least there, where we have an increase of 300 shillings on that. This is, of course, from various stockists. Those are the prices there. And it reads 21,900. That is the amount a patient now requires annually for a standard daily dose of a tablet of Lacetan H, up from 3,650 previously. That is a huge spike there. Tough times indeed. The cost of healthcare in Kenya has shot up sharply as the impact of a heavily weakened shilling raised the overall prices of imported medicines, surgical supplies, and medical equipment by up to an average of 15%, piling more pressure on the medical bills of millions of households already scorched by a high cost of living. This story, you can doggedly follow it on page 7 of the Daily Nation this morning. Jose Carmago is here, claims Raila. Azimio leader Raila Odinga yesterday claimed that 4 Venezuelans, including an individual identified as Jose Carmago, were in the country to tamper with 2022 election servers. This story continues on page 4 of the Daily Nation today. Also remember, you have your high school Apollo magazine and the junior sport. Let's see what we have on the teaser here. Tragic story of Bukumu girl's health was, I wish I could have given my life to save my daughter, because even if we know the cause of her death, that will not bring her back to life. These were the painful words of Joyce Oyugi as she addressed mourners at the burial of her daughter on Wednesday last week. Wendy Abeti Oyugi, 14, a Form 1 student at the Sacred Heart Mukumu Girls High School in Kakamega County, had her life cut short by a bacterial infection, which has claimed 2 other students and a teacher at the school. You have the story on the back page of the Daily Nation this morning. I will not be cowed by Azimio's ICC threats, says police boss Koome. That story continues on page 8 of the Daily Nation. This is how it looks. You can grab a copy of it if you wish. And this is the Star today. Venezuelans back to quote-unquote clean server. Raila now claims that is what is headlining the front page of the Star today. And we have hide and seek team allegedly being moved around in hotels. Excuse me, let me just clear that phlegm. That is what the flagger is reading there. President Ruto, I should say, asked Azimio leaders to give dialogue a chance. And that story continues on page 4 and 5 of the Star today. Also, you have an insert here. President William Ruto and Governor Ovinya Ndeti sharing a light moment at Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos County yesterday. On the sidebar, senators back bill to tame runaway pending bills in counties. Senators are set for a clash with the governors after the lawmaker ignored the county bosses and backed a bill that seeks to tame runaway pending bills in counties. The lawmaker said the prompt payment bill 2023 will be redemption and a big win for business people. That story continues on page 8 of the Star this morning. CS to be grilled over plan to sell off parastatals. Treasury CS Juguna Ndungu will face lawmakers over the controversial plan to sell state-owned farms without the involvement of Parliament. The CS is set to appear before the Senate Finance and Budget Committee to explain the plans that have angered the senators and triggered public outrage. And you have the story on page 7 of the Star this morning. CHVs listed in war on alcoholism in Mount Kenya region. The Ministry of Health says it will work with counties to have CHVs identify men and women wasting away in alcoholism. The ministry says the problem is rampant in the Mount Kenya area. This story is tucked away on page 21 of the Star. And I won't be cowed by ICC threats. IG Koome says after Azimio letter. This story continues on page 9 of the Star. This is how it looks. You can grab a copy if you so wish. Up next is the People Daily. How schools put students at risk. That is a splash. That's of learners and teachers at Mukumu spark health and safety fears. Tutors and parents speak out on what must be done to reduce exposure in schools, and also closing institutions likely to cause spread of disease, warns a legislator. And this story continues inside the People Daily today, where you have a full report and also an editorial on page 10, full report on page 4. If you look on top, Kenyans abroad send home 48 billion shillings in 1 month. This is according to Central Bank of Kenya. Amount represents a 15% jump in remittance from 41.46 billion shillings sent in February, which was the lowest, by the way, with the US being the leading source of funds workers wire to relatives. Full report, as I mentioned, of the story on school is on page 4. We have also Gachagua police boss must face ICC. This is what Raila was saying yesterday. You can see an instance of how also they turned out and forced for the rally at Kamukunji. As Mio leader says the two are to blame for the deaths of protesters as police quelled demos. He also wants Canaan out of talks on reforming IEBC. Kipchoge eyes new record in Boston race. And as I've said, we wish him all the best. This is a People Daily for you today. 56 dire Sudan Army paramilitary unit clash while leaders worry. That is on page 17 of the People Daily this morning. Taifa leo, masharti mapya ya Raila kwa serikali. Ataka Kenya Kwanza ing'oe Canaan katika kikosi chake na unga nafuu uuzwe 150. That is what the flagger is reading, and this is how the rally went down yesterday. Chipukizi asiyeshikika kwa uchoraji. You can read all about it. This is a young man there who has a good talent. Ruto afichua alivyo mezea Kalonzo, and you can follow the story on page 2 of Taifa Leo. Matabibu watangaza mgomo. That is the doctor's strike there. You can read about the pronouncement there, or the announcement of a strike. Man City yatoa onyo kwa Arsenal, wapunguza pengo la alama hadi 4 wakiwa na mechi moja kibidoni kimbi ndoni. That story is on page 20 of Taifa Leo. Let's buckle down to some business now, where property auctions are back as value of seized assets fall. Repeat auction bids closer to set reserve price. Lenders step up property seizures after COVID-19 lull. Banks are turning, it says, to repeat auctions to speed up the sale of repossessed cars, houses and land at discounted prices. As tight economic conditions knock off property valuations, the lenders, alarmed by the rising portion of loans for which principal and interest have not been paid for at least 90 days, are instructing auctioneers to re-advertise bids for repossessed assets. Some of the properties being re-advertised have suffered a drop in valuation due to factors such as depreciation and tight liquidity conditions in Kenya's soft economy, leading to reserve prices that are now closer to previously received bids. This story continues inside the Business Daily this morning. Also, Dar es Salaam RIP says Mombasa cargo hits a 5-year low. The volumes of cargo handled by Mombasa Port has dipped for the first time in 5 years, with players pointing to rising competition from Dar es Salaam. Total cargo throughput at the port shrunk to 3.3. That is 33, I should say, 33.74 million metric tons last year from 34.76 million tons the year before. You can read all about it inside the Business Daily. Nairobi tops Africa in fees at elite schools. Nairobi has once again emerged as the most expensive city in Africa for elite schools, with fees reaching high of 4.1 million shillings per year as parents place a premium on their children's education. This is according to a new report there. And Nairobi Security Exchange posts worst dollar returns on weak shilling is another story that you want to follow also inside the Business Daily as well. Stockbrokers fight for survival after latest profit plunge. Stockbrokers paid the price for a depressed stock market and tough economy last year after the earnings fell by a quarter on the back of lower trading commissions and advisory revenue. That story continues on page 2 of the Business Daily this morning. Let's cross borders now. We head to Uganda, where Mulago stuck with 40 dead machines is the splash today. The Auditor General reports and information from sources within the nation. Referral Hospital says the essential medical equipment for disease detection and patient management are non-functional, and some have broken down. That story continues on page 4. You have the MRI machine there. That is also the plain X-ray machine. We have mammography system, patient monitors and hematology analyzers. Well, these have broken down. Birthday run. Kabaka calls for regular exercise, HIV fight. Was a happy birthday for him there. You can read all about it inside the Daily Monitor in Uganda. This is Kabaka the King. Cancer patients fighting to get his voice back, and ghetto kids wild in London. You can read all about it in the Daily Monitor. Also, we have the Citizen. Why East Africa is poised for economic greatness. East Africa could soon become Africa's economic powerhouse if ongoing plans to expand the EAC are implemented successfully. That is a story that you want to read also inside the East African this morning. And story on page 2. This is how the economies are here. We have $118 billion there. The 118 billion shillings. We have 85.4 billion shillings, 49.8 billion shillings. I think this should be dollars. And that is happening in, that's a story that is happening with East Africa that is poised for economic greatness if we have a concerted effort to make sure that East African community is our reality. Fisheries contribution undervalued. This is what the report is saying. Read all about it to find out what report is that in the Citizen. If you're working up in Tanzania, eneo nyeti kwa kukuza uchumi. That is what Mwananchi has for you still in Tanzania. And we can cross over to Rwanda, where genocidal rape, how Rwanda set an international precedent. An estimated 250,000 to 500,000 women and girls were raped in the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. And this story continues on page 4 and 5 of the New Times in Rwanda. Kagame First Lady paid tribute to Benin's fallen heroes. We can see him here, President Paul Kagame and First Lady Jeanette Kagame, as part of their state visit to Benin on Saturday, paying tribute to the West African country's fallen heroes at Les Jardins de Mathieu in Cotonou. The heroes at this memorial garden are men and women who paid the ultimate price in the ongoing fight against terrorism. During the visit, Rwanda and Benin signed 9 bilateral agreements in different areas of cooperation. That's happening in, of course, all the details in the New Times in Rwanda. The East African this week is all about anatomy of graft, web of corruption, wastage and neglect in Tanzanian public sector agency threatens to taint Samia's legacy ahead of 2025 polls, but she has stepped up to slay the dragon. You can read all about it inside the East African this week. Also, citizens alarmed as regions' governments run on empty. They are bracing for belt tightening as states cut spending and raise taxes amid funding squeeze blamed on debt, low revenues, and census results divide South Sudanese. Politicians say released figures point to plan to rig elections whose debt is yet to be named and call for proper count. That story continues on page 6 of the East African. This is how it looks. Also, Rwanda Air, Ethiopian chart new routes. Equity raises stake in Congo subsidiary that is in the markets. And also you have electric vehicle racing. All race takes shape in East Africa. Who is leading? Read all about it also inside the East African. This is how it looks. I'll show you more of the dailies, the international, of course, dailies as well. We have the China Daily, the Newsweek, the Time Magazine, the Economist, and other magazines. So I just want to open our panelists who are already here with us this morning to, of course, just give us an update of how it has been over the week.